Thank you very much. It's a beautiful warm day outside and a fantastic backdrop to address a slight variation on the theme of this conference today. I'm passionate about the future of this vibrant city, and I want its affairs managed by a more efficient and less invasive council. Today I present to you Auckland the way I want it. The very first thing we need is a solution to the endless rate increases Aucklanders face every year. In 2013, I knew there was an opportunity for a change of direction of the council so every Aucklander could enjoy a rates cut. Unfortunately, it is clear that the council has made such a hash of their finances that this is no longer the case. Len Brown has broken his election promise to keep rates increases to 2.5% when he voted for an average of 3.5% increases. The council says it will limit future rate increases for the next 10 years to an average of 4.9%, but you and I all know that this means 4.9% becomes a safely promised default rather than a maximum. This is leading to a new underclass being created in Auckland. That is the fixed income pensioners living in their own home and being hit with double-digit increases every year for the last 4 years. They've done everything right in their lives. They've worked for 50 years, they've paid their taxes, and now they're being smashed for it. They are having to reconsider their homes and independence because of the financial recklessness of the town hall. In 2016, I want to see a mayoral candidate who says they will keep rates increases within the level of inflation. And by this I mean the level of inflation publicised by the Reserve Bank, not the one the council makes up itself. It is a little known fact, but one you will find in the council's upcoming 10-year budget, that while the council projects CPI increases for below 3% over the next decade, the council still projects CROI, or council rate of inflation, exceeding 4% in 2021. I want to see a debate over who can maintain rates closer to their current levels and how we can find fairer ways to charge for council services that residents want. Right now, those who own property are charged a fixed percentage of the value of their property for council services, irrelevant of how much they actually use. Low-value properties pay less, high-value properties pay more, and those who don't own any property, like me, pay nothing. Is this an equitable and fair method of charging? Having a high-value property in Ōrākei does not mean you're a higher user of council services. Having to pay more for services than someone in a lower-value West Auckland property is manifestly unfair. Reducing rates percentage levels and charging a higher fixed level through the uniform annual general charge would move us closer to an equitable position. However, I think the concept of user pays should be applied as much as practicable. Make a payment to cover the costs of the services you use and pay nothing for the services you don't use. In this way, even those who do not own property would be paying their share of costs. There would also be a financial incentive to minimise wasteful use of services. How much fairer can you get than that? The rates of today are certainly cause for concern, but the levels of borrowing this council are engaging in makes me worry about the rates of tomorrow. Interest on council debt has been costing $1 million a day for more than a year now, with 19% of our rates bill being consumed by servicing interest costs. The council's 10-year plan states that projected debt will be up to $10.8 billion in 10 years, down from a previously expected $13.7 billion, and therefore we shouldn't worry. That conservative figure would see nearly $500 million being spent every year to service debt interest, and that is nearly a third of our current rates income. I actually get a bit worried when we see a council document saying we're not borrowing as much as we first thought. I can almost hear some brains clunking over in the town hall thinking, how can we spend that $2.5 billion shortfall? Len Brown is clearly using borrowing so the impact of his spending can be hidden by a 3.5% average rates increase. When debt reaches $10 billion and the council requires nearly $500 million a year to service interest, what levels do you think our rates will be then? If the Council's worst case scenario is to be believed, as documented in the proposed 10-year budget consultation document, that figure will be 47% higher than it is now, and that is just an average. In 2016, I want to see a council who thinks outside of the box when it comes to funding worthwhile capital investments. Auckland Council's assets are projected to be worth $40.3 billion by this June. If we sold $3.6 billion worth of assets instead of borrowing that amount over the next 10 years, there is potential to save $3.3 billion on interest costs by 2025. If we could get the private sector involved in investing in a capital project, the money they invest would be a zero cost to ratepayers. Why are our elected representatives stuck in the mentality of tax and spend, and what studies of cost-benefit analysis are they using before making decisions on capital spending? Auckland needs an urgent conversation about what the proper role of local government is. Prior to the unleashing of general incompetence by the Labour government in 2002, its purpose did not include a shotgun approach to spending. Their purpose was to administer the natural monopolistic utilities that our city requires to function. I'm referring to the real essentials, like removing stormwater and sewerage. Obviously, we can't dig up an entire city every time someone else wants to enter the market. I'm referring to suburban roads and footpaths. I don't think anyone would argue that we should open up the entrance of your driveway to 3 different providers. Councils looked after rubbish collection, parks and libraries, which to me are all very reasonable functions for a local authority. Essentially, the very basics that only council can provide, without which the city would collapse, were the general jurisdiction of the council. 13 years after the passing of the 2002 Local Government Act, we have literally dozens of local authorities deciding for themselves what their role is. I would like to see a commitment to funding only the naturally monopolistic goods and services that are essential for the functioning of the city. Next, I want Auckland Council to eliminate the duplication of services central government already supplies. Stop providing housing. Stop providing economic assistance to the business sector. Stop developing employment for young people. There is already an enormous central government and a quickly growing economy doing a far better job of this than Auckland Council. I want the Council to seriously review its plan to spend $2.2 billion on developing Auckland. Stop putting so many rules and regulations in the way of community-minded individuals and businesses, and they will take care of this very well for themselves. Businesses do not want to trade in a ghetto. Families do not want to live in a slum. Barfoot and Thompson last year donated $2 million, including $500 million for an upgrade of the Holy Trinity Cathedral, and $1 million for the State House sculpture on the waterfront. Now, admittedly, that's not really quite to my taste. However, you'll be very hard-pressed to find any donated artwork that enjoys 100% appreciation. Perhaps if generosity and enhancing your locality were easier for community-minded businesses, individuals and trusts, there would be more offering to do so, and then competing to do it without costing the ratepayer. Contrast this with the recent notorious public artwork in New Lynn, which has been reviewed and authorised by committees of bureaucrats and politicians, costs the ratepayer $200,000, and quite frankly is a bit of a cock-up. Finally, there needs to be a very simple measure. Is this a need to have or a nice to have? In a city of numerous water leisure parks surrounded by beaches, does the council really need to own pools and provide access to them free of charge? Is a ratepayer-funded Philharmonic Orchestra an essential or an optional? Is a stadium in Mount Eden, Mount Smart, North Harbour vital to Auckland's existence, or should we get the private sector to try making it economical? If the NRL, Auckland Nines and the V8 races are the fantastic and successful events those who allocate the ratepayer money say they are, why give them any public money at all? Clearly they do not need ratepayer dollars to be funneled into them. If it isn't going to succeed on its own commercial appeal and the attraction to the masses, is it really that important? In the context of an overtaxing, over-borrowing, overspending council, I say it is not. I have a personal enthusiasm for dance music that goes doof, doof, doof very quickly. However, hardly anybody else does, so there isn't a giant commercially funded festival each year, and that seems fair to me. Auckland, the way I want it, will have a council which spends less, taxes less, borrows less, because it involves itself only in the activities that it must do. In 2016, I want to see the local electorate ballot papers dominated by candidates who feel the same. Thank you.